You are listening to Morning Edition on 89.3 WFPL. I'm Bill Burton, and it's time for us to take a look at the science behind the forecast as I am joined by Wave 3 meteorologist Tawana Andrew. Good morning, Tawana.
Good morning. We're talking to something a little bit more relevant to what's happening in Iceland right now that you would think we were talking about the cold, but no, we're heating things up a little bit more.
Yeah, Iceland has got a volcano that's making a little bit of noise. So that's our topic today, volcanoes and how they can affect weather. What do we need to know?
So as volcanoes erupt, they release plumes of ash and gases into the atmosphere, and these can have significant impacts on temperatures and even precipitation globally. Volcanic eruptions that produce large amounts of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere can actually lead to cooler temperatures, not just locally, but worldwide. Because sulfur dioxide blocks sunlight and actually interacts with other compounds in the atmosphere to lower temperatures at the Earth's surface. So, an excellent example of this is 1991's eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines. That eruption dropped global temperatures by 1.3 degrees Fahrenheit,
Wow.
which doesn't seem that much, but you are talking about the entire planet seeing that temperature drop. This eruption sent about 22 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. That combined with the water in the atmosphere to form sulfuric acid. Those sulfuric acid droplets help to block some of that sunlight from actually reaching the Earth's surface, and that's what led to the cooler temperatures. Now, sulfur dioxide is really interesting because it helps to make things a little bit prettier as well after a volcanic eruption, because all the dust and the sulfur dioxide that comes out of these volcanic eruptions can create more vibrant sunrises and sunsets because they scatter the light at various wavelengths and can make these sunrises and sunsets more vivid. The reds, the oranges, way more vivid. Something else to note is that, yeah, we talk about, of course, that temperature drop with some volcanic eruptions, but others can lead to increases in temperatures. And a perfect example of this as well is what happened in Tonga in January of 2022, when that volcano erupted and shot a plume of volcanic gases, ash, water vapor, 35 miles into the sky.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it went up high because keep in mind, our global stratosphere only extends about 31 miles up into the atmosphere. So it went even above that.
Wow.
Um, and as it erupted, it shot out 50 million tons of additional water vapor into the atmosphere since it was an underwater eruption. So
Mm.
all of that water instantly went to steam and flew up all the way 35 miles high into the sky. And water vapor actually is excellent at absorbing solar radiation, and it re-emits it as heat. So researchers are still working on diving into the numbers to see how much of an impact this additional moisture had on our planet's temperatures. But for right now, things are trending on the warmer side. Now, something interesting visually in terms of volcanoes, pyrocumulus clouds. So these are those clouds, those thick gray clouds that shoot into the sky, and they produce lightning and even wind vortices over these tornadoes. So
Mm.
the reason that you have the lightning is because volcanic particulates, they collide with each other at really high speeds in these pyrocumulus clouds, and that creates an electrical charge separation and thus the lightning. Now, here's the thing that gets a little bit freaky and apocalyptic. The hot air inside a volcanic eruption, as it rises, it's pulling more air in beneath it as it climbs in the atmosphere. And as you have the wind blowing over this plume of all these gases that are superheated basically from over the volcano, you end up with things starting to spin and you end up with a vortex. So kind of, let's say, a volcanic tornado.
Ooh.
Not as strong as an actual tornado, but certainly it is spinning and it makes things a little bit scarier than a normal volcano would usually make it. So that's one thing that I would be running away from.
So much information to try to all sort out because of volcanoes. They do have such a major impact on weather worldwide, not just locally where they're erupting. By the way, As a special web bonus to this episode, Tawana and I spent a half an hour trying to pronounce the name of that Iceland volcano.
It did not work.
It did not at all. But now we have a better understanding of volcanoes and how they can affect weather thanks to the latest edition of Science Behind the Forecast with Wave 3 meteorologist Tawana Andrew. Thanks for the knowledge, Tawana.
Of course.